Welcome to Secrets of the Sussexes. Today we're looking at a rare moment in recent months when it's not sources speaking, but the Duke of Sussex himself. In a fresh interview from Kiev, Prince Harry insists he's not unhappy in California. After 4 days in Britain he felt strong support from the British public, and his guiding principle, he says, is Meghan's advice: just stick to the truth. It sounds good. But why does that mantra hit so many tender points in his story, from the late Queen's recollections may vary to the corrections in the book and the Netflix series? Let's break it down calmly, from the first frame to the last line. First, the tone. Harry isn't snappy or nervously joking. He's almost serene. I'm content with who I am, and I like the life I'm living. He acknowledges stressful events over the last 4 years, but insists the permanently gloomy Harry idea is a press invention. Here you have to hear the context as well as the words. Those over 50 remember, in the British tradition, public figures rarely announce that they're happy, they show it through circumstances and actions. That's the gap between the monarchical style of never complain, never explain, and the American confessional format. Harry's long played by the latter rules, which is why many respond to these declarations with a careful squint. Let's see what he does. And this week, there was plenty. A visit to London, a quiet but notable meeting with his father, about an hour for tea at Clarence House, followed by warm words about focusing on Dad and a wish to spend more time in Britain if security can be handled. Add a symbolic stop at his grandmother's resting place in Windsor and, in logical step with his veterans' work, a trip to Kiev for Invictus. Put the pieces together and you get a neat reconciliation route. Honor the past, see your father, return to the project that's always been Harry's strength, and say out loud, I want to spend more time in Britain. On paper, it's well judged, both humanly and PR-wise. And then comes the key line: just stick to the truth. On the page, flawless, in the mouth of a man whose loudest public period was devoted to correcting the palace's version, provocative. Not because truth isn't needed, but because every time Harry says truth, the late Queen's answer rises. Recollections may vary. In monarchy, truth is rarely spoken in the first person, it's shown through tradition, repeated actions, and quiet signals. Harry chose the other path: a book, a series, interviews. For some, it was liberation; for others, dirty laundry. If he now insists it wasn't revenge but correcting existing narratives, then the next logical step is a long silence and steady deeds that make new corrections unnecessary. On that front, he's been on and off. Now to the British are on my side. It's a bold, perhaps heartfelt claim. Emotions run high, and charity rooms are full of kind people who won't boo. But veterans of the audience know, Britain isn't a private reception. It's a strict, sometimes stern public that trusts actions and memory more than a 1-minute picture. A nation's affection isn't applause in a room, it's willingness to tolerate you in its squares and news when you're out of fashion. It's returning not with slogans, but with a clear answer to what's your role now? If Harry truly wants to spend more time in the UK, he needs to name that role without fog or bargaining over special security arrangements. Older viewers spot the bargaining table instantly. Another thread, the little needles aimed at his brother. Harry says you can't reconcile without truth. A fair line, but it lands as if addressed squarely to William. Our grown-up filter kicks in. Any family grievance aired publicly blocks the bridge to peace for exactly as long as the headline lives. In the royal house, these things have always been handled differently, through private talks, shared work, and long pauses. The longer truth first is said on camera, the harder it is to become let's just get on with it. No judgment, just a pattern viewers 50+ recognize a mile off. Now on being unhappy or happy in California. I'm not unhappy. I'm content with my life is honest and dignified. But happiness, like respect, is proved by behavior. If Montecito is a place of peace, don't drag that home into every storyline, bolting family details onto promo campaigns. Open the curtain yourself, and you lose the moral standing to scold those who peek. If a UK trip is about your father and charity, that's not the moment to argue about how elements of the press see you as sullen. People who are truly calm don't argue with the wall, they move on. The Kiev trip is a strong move. Against years of veterans' work, it feels organic. But older audiences are sensitive to form. Such visits demand quiet and long, not one-off, support. This gesture has meaning if, months from now, we see results, not meetings and pledges, but concrete outcomes funded through the project, prosthetics, rehab, sports facilities. If they come, the public will remember Ukraine as a cause, not a backdrop. If not, the trip will fade into the feed, and that's the saddest outcome. So, the bottom line? In words, Harry's doing most things right, speaking about family without sharp edges, keeping the focus on his father, gently expressing a wish to visit more often, even admitting there's been stress. He isn't attacking, he's asking for a chance, and that tone usually lands well in Britain. The problem is different. Years of confessions taught the public to judge him not by words, but by the gap between announced and done. Stick to the truth, in that frame, isn't a Meghan quote, it's daily, heavy work. Fewer comments, more meetings. Fewer hints about a faulty past, more quiet work now. Less rhetoric, more specifics. Can this end well? Yes, very much so. A grandfather wants grandkids not on a postcard. A son in his 40s wants a home where he doesn't have to prove his right. An eldest brother wants someone who won't edit the past but will shoulder a piece of the future. All of that is possible on one condition: truth must stop meaning the right to the last word and start meaning the right to keep silent. Silence in which you do, not explain. One last note. Harry said, the British public can think for themselves. A rare and right line. It means he may finally be stepping away from arguing with the front page and speaking to the people who make Britain Britain, the church queue regulars, hospital volunteers, teachers, and scout leaders, those who applaud deeds, not surnames. If the Duke wants to return, let him return to them. Not to cameras, not to headlines, not to old score settling, to people. They'll decide whose side he's on. They always do. Here at Secrets of the Sussexes, we'll watch the distance, not the slogans. If what follows is quiet work, long pauses, and no trading in family matters, just stick to the truth will stop sounding like a slogan and start sounding like a way of life. Then we'll talk about support, not as a post-tour mood, but by Britain's own measure, year in, year out. Stay with us through the week. If concrete details emerge on the Clarence House meeting or Invictus outcomes, we'll unpack them without fuss and without deference to the surname.